something I had read on TikTok, and it went just like this. It said a reminder that you never run into people again once their cycle in your life completes. And I feel like this is really real, but on like another stance where, sometimes you can just outgrow like certain friendships or relationships with people, but those things don't have to be like a super, super like toxic thing. Like it doesn't have to be like an argument happen or anything like that. It can just simply be that you feel that, you've outgrown this person. And to tie back into the whole thing I had saw on TikTok, it's like usually once those connections kind of fade or go away, especially after graduating high school or graduating college, you kind of realize, or even like leaving a job, you kind of realize that, those connections, those friendships that do fade, it's cool to kind of just let them, fade away and kind of go, you know? Like if it's gonna stay, it's gonna stay. If it's not, it's probably not. And I feel like as someone who's pretty isolated, I feel like it can be a little easy to, beat yourself up a little bit about losing certain friendships or anything like that. But I think, to anyone who might be like me in a way, I think it's important to know that, you're not meant to be friends with everybody. You're not even meant to be friends with like 10 people or 8. It's cool to just have like one or two people that you're like really, really close with. And, some of those people might be, your siblings, which I think is okay. And some of those people might just be people you've met in the wild, like out in the world. And I think that's fine too. I just kind of notice like when I kind of look at my parents and like their friendships that I kind of saw, growing up, like I mainly saw like my uncles and like my aunts and stuff like that. It wasn't like all the time like that they were always bringing around friends or anything like that, or like family friends. A lot of the time that wasn't too much of a thing. And I feel like it could be one of two things. I feel like it could be like maybe they just didn't like have those long lasting friendships that lasted into like deep adulthood, like late 30s and early 40s and stuff like that. Or it could just be like they just don't see a need to kind of bring those friends around like their kids and stuff like that. Which, I think is fine too. You gotta put your children first and stuff. But, I think it's cool to just, I think it's just cool to remember that, you know, certain friendships are gonna fade away. Um, and sometimes it's a lot more. I feel like it's a lot damaging, like a lot more damaging to rekindle old friendships that faded away. I feel like those friendships that faded away, like they kind of fade away for a reason and everything like that. Like I kind of felt myself about to try to rekindle some old friendships, and I kind of thought to myself like, well, if we didn't really continue this, friendship outside of the bounds of where we met, then maybe it's cool to just leave it there and just have the fond memories. And I feel like if a friendship kind of starts to die out after you try to continue the friendship or the relationship outside of where you guys met, whether it was school or like work, and you kind of can tell like, oh, like this is who this person is. It's cool to just take a step back and fade away in a good way, not in a dying way. But it's cool to just like kind of like fade away and be like, oh, I'm not really I'm not really comfortable like being this person's friend or being in their life or having them in mind. And I think it's always good to just make sure that you're constantly remembering that I can make friends with anybody and I don't have to hold on to the people that are just in my life. You don't want to have like a what's that mindset? It's like an abundancy mindset versus a scarcity mindset. You want to kind of have the abundant mindset when it comes to stuff like that because you as a person, you're worth having good people around you. You shouldn't have to settle for doom and despair types of people or people that make you feel filled with doom and despair. You shouldn't have to, settle with that or anything like that. But that's what I got for right now. My final thoughts and words: read a book, extend your vocabulary, keep learning. I keep trying to tell myself and force myself to really like keep learning and not be stuck in the type of education I have right now. Like constantly force myself to learn. When I hear a word and I feel like I should know what it means, I look it up. But that's all I got. Be breezy.